I never thought this would be my life. The day before our wedding, my fiancée was at a concert, locked in a passionate kiss with her college intern. Staring at the photo of them, lost in the moment, I felt a strange, chilling calm. I told her I wanted a divorce. Caleb, the intern, called me, crying, putting on a show. "Noah, man, it was my fault," he sobbed. "I just got caught up in a moment and kissed Anna. It's all on me, don't blame her." Then, I heard Anna's voice in the background, softer and gentler than I'd ever heard it directed at me. She was cooing at him. "Stop crying. You don't have to explain anything to him. He's just a worthless freeloader. Why does he have to be angry with me?" I listened without saying a word. I quietly packed my things, placed the divorce papers where she couldn't miss them, and got ready to leave. Anna didn't get home until the next morning, humming a tune, clearly in a good mood. The moment she saw me on the living room couch, the music died. "Why are you up so early?" she asked casually. I didn't answer, just stood up. That's when she noticed the suitcase next to me. Her perfect eyebrows knitted together in disgust. "Noah, you're not a kid anymore. Can you stop being so childish?" She always spoke to me with that lack of patience. Any sign of emotion or unhappiness from me was met with that same condescending lecture. In the past, just to keep the peace, I would have apologized immediately, even when I wasn't in the wrong, and done whatever it took to make her happy. But now, I was done being her doormat. As I finished packing my last few items, I pulled the printed divorce agreement from my bag and slapped it on the table. "Since you're back, you can sign this," I said, my voice flat. "We can go to the courthouse and get it finalized when you have time." Anna, who had been walking toward the bathroom, paused. "Because of one picture?" she said, her tone dripping with indifference. "Noah, are you really going to divorce me over this?" She then had the audacity to blame me. "Because you made a single phone call, Caleb cried in my office for half an hour. How can a grown man like you be so petty with a kid?" Caleb wasn't just Anna's personal assistant. He was a fresh-faced graduate from her alma mater. He was handsome, a smooth talker, and radiated that youthful romantic energy that Anna fantasized about. They were practically inseparable at work and after hours. "He's a kid who doesn't know any better," I shot back coldly. "What's your excuse?" Faced with my direct question, Anna's eyes darted away, her impatience deepening. That was her move. Silence, whenever I pressed her for the truth. A bitter smile touched my lips. I couldn't believe I'd held on to any hope at all. Seeing me actually grab the handle of my suitcase, her paper-thin patience finally snapped. "Noah, I'm warning you. Don't push your luck," she yelled. "You're going to go apologize to Caleb right now, and we'll forget this ever happened. If you don't, you'll regret it." I let out a sharp laugh. "He kisses my wife, and I have to apologize to him? What am I, a professional cuckold?" Anna's face turned ugly. "I'll say this one last time," she seethed. "Either you go apologize to Caleb, or you get the hell out of my family's house. And don't forget, you have nothing in this city. Everything you have is because of the Carters. Without me, you don't even have a place to sleep." Her voice was cold and contemptuous. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. She was so sure of herself, so certain that this was all just an act because she knew I had nowhere else to go. My hand trembled on the suitcase handle, a profound sense of powerlessness enveloping me. She was right. I was an orphan. In this massive city, I had nothing. Thinking she had me figured out, Anna's face darkened and her tone hardened. "Noah, I'm Busa. I have a mountain of work to deal with. And don't you forget, you only got to where you are today because of my family." Normally, this would have been my cue to grovel and apologize. But looking at the woman I had loved for 3 years, I felt like I was seeing a stranger. She was still beautiful, but everything had soured. "Cancel the wedding tomorrow," I told her seriously. "Or better yet, you can marry Caleb." As I walked out, I added, "Don't forget to sign the papers." The moment I closed the door, I heard the crash of breaking glass and her hysterical scream. "Go on, walk out. Don't you dare regret it. This wedding will happen without you. Let's see where a loser like you can possibly go without the Carter family." Even with my resolve, her cruel words tore through me. 3 years of love, and in her eyes, I was just a loser, a parasite living off her family. I dragged my suitcase downstairs and looked up at the gray sky, my heart aching with a sharp, stabbing pain. I met Anna in college at Parsons School of Design. We were both in the same program, but she was the star, the certified genius. She was dazzling, and no one could resist her charm. I was no exception, but I was just a poor kid on a work-study program, and she was the campus queen from a wealthy family. I bury my feelings deep down. After graduation, the company I joined happened to do business with the brand she founded. We started talking more. As our collaboration deepened, her fashion label gained recognition. I finally understood why a rich girl like her would work so hard to build something from the ground up. She wanted to prove herself to her family. But just as she was being hailed as the industry's new prodigy, disaster struck. A friend betrayed her, and her designs were falsely accused of plagiarism. Overnight, her company was mired in scandal, and its stock plummeted. To make matters worse, she had crossed some shady people and was saddled with enormous debt. Some of them even tried to force her into selling her body to pay it back. Anna flatly refused their disgusting demands, which only enraged them. They threatened to destroy her face. When one of them lunged at her with a knife, I didn't hesitate. I threw myself in front of her. The blade sliced through the back of my hand, severing the tendons. Anna was unharmed, but I had to say goodbye to my design career. My hand could no longer hold a pen. No firm would hire a disabled designer. During my time in the hospital, she cried endlessly, clinging to me and swearing, "Noah, I will never let you down. As soon as you're healed and this all blows over, we'll get married." I held on to that promise for 3 long years. After that incident, the Carter family, fearing for her safety, wouldn't let her strike out on her own again. For the first time, she gave in to them and agreed to join the family business, Carter Corporation. She was a natural. Within a few years of leading her team back to the corporation, she secured her position as the head of the design department and even launched her own personal brand under their umbrella. But my presence was a constant source of irritation for her family. I came from a poor background, was an orphan, and was now disabled. They felt I was completely unworthy of Anna and refused to accept me. But back then, she stood firmly by my side, refusing to budge on the issue of our marriage, even threatening to cut ties with her family. Eventually, the Carters relented, but they made me agree to 3 conditions. I was not to work at Carter Corp after the wedding, I was not to use my status as their son-in-law for personal gain, and if we ever divorced, I would not receive a single penny of the Carter family's assets. I agreed without a second thought. As long as I could be with her, a little humiliation was worth it. Anna held my trembling hand, nestled against me, and promised she would always be mine alone. To prevent her parents from changing their minds, she rushed me to City Hall to get legally married, but the wedding ceremony was postponed again and again. She said she wanted to give me a grand celebration to announce our relationship to the world on the day of the Carter Corporation's anniversary, which was supposed to be tomorrow. I had been filled with anticipation, but reality slapped me hard across the face. Caleb's arrival changed everything. He was cunning. A few sweet words, a charming smile, and he had Anna wrapped around his finger. By the time I realized something was wrong, it was too late. The woman I loved no longer looked at me with love in her eyes. Maybe our relationship was a mistake from the very beginning, from that accident 3 years ago. Now, I was in a doctor's office, consulting about getting a prosthetic hand. While waiting for the specialist, a notification popped up on my phone with a trending headline, "Design Genius Anna Carter's Wedding of the Century." At the same moment, my phone rang. It was Anna. "Noah, the wedding is about to start. Where the hell are you? There's a time and place for throwing a tantrum. Every important person in the city is here. Are you trying to publicly humiliate my family?" Even though I'd told myself I was over it, her words still stung. It turned out that in her eyes, I was less important than her precious public image. I said nothing and hung up. A few moments later, another notification came through. I clicked on the link to the Carter Corp's official live stream. The first thing I saw was Anna and Caleb exchanging rings. The camera zoomed in as they shared a deep, passionate kiss. The host gushed to the audience. "May all lovers find their way from the classroom to the chapel. from young love to a lifetime together. The scene didn't look out of place at all. Of course it didn't. In the 3 years we were together, the Carters, worried about their reputation, never allowed us to go public. No one even knew what Anna Carter's real partner looked like. I laughed, but tears streamed down my face. On the screen, their intertwined hands were a blinding sight. She never belonged to me. 3 years was all it took for a person to become completely unrecognizable. My phone buzzed nonstop. It was Caleb, sending me messages. He sent intimate photos of himself and Anna, their wedding pictures, and a family portrait with the Carters. Anyone would look at them and praise what a loving couple they were. The screen was filled with his gloating and provocation. The wedding I had waited 3 years for, the acceptance from her family I had yearned for, Caleb got it all so easily. Just because he was obedient, charming, and knew how to flatter them. He was the perfect son-in-law in their eyes. The Carters didn't need more money. They needed a puppet. Out of sight, out of mind. I blocked Caleb. But a second later, a call from Anna came through. I answered instinctively. Before I could speak, her voice, sharp and accusatory, filled my ear. Noah, have you had enough? I haven't even dealt with you for ditching the wedding, and now you're taking it out on Caleb? Do you have any idea that if it weren't for him stepping in today, I would have been the laughingstock of the entire city? Her tirade left me stunned. It took me a moment to realize that Caleb must have run to her the second I blocked him. A deep, bone-weary exhaustion washed over me. I'm not making a scene, I said calmly. In fact, I wish you two the best. Hearing the quiet in my voice, Anna's tone softened slightly. Don't misunderstand. I had Caleb call you. Remember to come to the family dinner tonight. Mom and Dad are furious about what you did today. You need to explain yourself to them in person. No, thanks, I replied without hesitation. It's a family dinner. I'm an outsider. I wouldn't want to intrude. That set her off again. Her voice shot up. This wedding was just for show. You will always be my husband. Running away from home over a small issue is one thing, but you have to come to this dinner. How ridiculous. The wedding that was supposed to be mine had a different groom, and Anna acted like it was nothing, even expecting me to accept it calmly and then attend the so-called celebration dinner. I had to admit, she didn't care about my feelings at all. I could faintly hear Mr. Carter's cold voice in the background, something about the dinner starting. Noah, I'm warning you, Anna said, her voice turning hard. Your selfish behavior today has already damaged the Carter family's reputation. You'd better cooperate and show up, or don't blame me for what happens next. Don't blame her for what happens next. My grip on the phone tightened. I didn't want to argue with her anymore. Anna, I don't want to be your husband anymore. Find some time to get the divorce finalized so I can make room for him. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end. Then her firm voice came through. As long as we're not divorced, you are my husband. If you don't show up for dinner tonight, you can forget about a divorce. With that, she hung up. The live stream camera panned to show her and Caleb, hand in hand, greeting their guests. The comments were flooded with praise for the beautiful couple. I quietly closed the live stream. After finalizing the surgery plan and date with the doctor that afternoon, I went home. The thought of Anna dragging her feet on the divorce was a problem. After much consideration, I decided to go to the dinner and settle things with her once and for all. When I arrived at the Carter-owned hotel, the place was buzzing. Wedding posters of Anna and Caleb were everywhere. They had even managed to get wedding photos done in a single day. I didn't know whether to be impressed by the Carter family's wealth or to assume this had been planned all along. As I pushed the door to the private dining room open, the laughter inside stopped abruptly. Anna shot up from her seat. Noah, you're here. Come, seat. All eyes turned to me. The expressions on the faces of the Carter family were not pleasant. Their disdain was palpable. I didn't move. Signed the divorce papers. And I'll leave immediately, I said bluntly. I won't interrupt your family reunion. The words had barely left my mouth when a teacup flew through the air and shattered at my feet. I looked up and met the cold, furious eyes of Anna's father, Mr. Carter. He never bothered to hide his contempt for me. You dare mention divorce? He roared. Have you forgotten who's been feeding you all these years? You ungrateful piece of trash. Everyone else just watched, accustomed to this kind of scene. I looked at Anna. She just frowned, making no move to defend me, as if determined to let me learn my lesson. At that moment, my heart turned to ice. Seeing my usual silence, her father's verbal assault escalated. You think you're somebody just because you married into the Carter family? If it weren't for the fact that you helped Anna once, you would never have even stepped foot in our world. And you dare to skip the wedding? Are you trying to bring shame upon us? He grew more agitated as he spoke, even looking like he was about to get physical. Anna's mother patted his back to calm him down while glaring at me. If Anna wasn't so stubborn about you, I would have thrown you out long ago. You're just common trash. Just then, Caleb spoke up with false sincerity. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, please don't be angry. Noah is disabled, after all. It's understandable that he'd be afraid of public appearances. He probably skipped the wedding because he was afraid of embarrassing the family. His words were framed as a defense, but every syllable was salt in my wounds, a public reminder of my shortcomings. The mocking gazes of everyone in the room swept over me. The Carters didn't even try to hide their disgust, looking at me like I was something dirty. I had endured those looks for 3 years. For a hollow promise, I had chosen to ignore them. But today I was done. Seeing her father and grandmother genuinely enraged, Anna started to look uncomfortable. She came over to me, tugged my sleeve, and whispered, "Just apologize. Don't make a scene." I violently shook her hand off. My silence was over. I strode to the table, grabbed a teapot, and walked toward them. "Today, I'll show you what a real man is. And I'll wash out that filthy mouth of yours while I'm at it." I lunged forward, grabbed Mr. Carter by the collar, and shoved the spout of the teapot into his mouth. The scalding tea made him yelp, his face turning beet red. "You're crazy," he sputtered. "Noah, how dare you do this to me?" Caleb rushed over to intervene. I tossed the teapot aside, turned, and landed a solid punch on his face. "You're proud of yourself, aren't you? Marrying another man's wife. Eager to be the other man. Today, I'll teach you the consequences of being a homewrecker." I kicked him to the ground, got on top of him, and started swinging, unleashing all the frustration and anger that had been building up for so long. Anna, terrified by my ferocity, screamed for the butler to pull me off. I managed to land a few more punches on Caleb, and as the butler dragged me away, I stomped hard on his hand for good measure. Caleb lay on the floor, clutching his throat, unable to get up. The entire Carter family rushed to his side, fussing over him. The sight enraged Anna's mother. "You crippled psycho," she shrieked. "How dare you cause a scene at a Carter family dinner? A divorce. We must get a divorce." I didn't hold back. I charged at her and pushed her straight into the 5-tiered cake behind her. The room erupted in screams. "You like to lecture, don't you? Now you have something to scream about." Cream splattered everywhere, covering the guests and making them look ridiculous. Mrs. Carter was knocked to the ground, clutching her back, unable to get up. In the chaos, I flipped the dining table. Dishes and food crashed to the floor. The restaurant staff stood frozen, unsure what to do. Thinking of all the humiliation I'd endured over the years, I knew this wasn't nearly enough. "You Carters are so concerned with appearances, right? You think I'm an embarrassment?" I strode to the hotel entrance where reporters were still lingering outside. "Hey everyone, I've got a big story for you," I yelled, stepping aside to give them a clear path. "I'm actually Anna Carter's legal husband. As for the guy she married today, I didn't have to finish." The reporters, sharp as they were, understood immediately. They swarmed into the room, surrounding Caleb. "Are you the third party in their marriage? Why would you marry a woman who's already married? Isn't the Carter family afraid of being ridiculed for this?" Caleb, still moaning on the floor, tried to cover his face and yelled at them to leave. Anna, forgetting the reporters, screamed for security to throw them out. But it was too late. The chaotic scene, the trashed room, and the disheveled state of the Carter family were all captured on camera. Our eyes met across the room. In her gaze, which was practically shooting flames, I smiled. That felt good. So good. I've waited 3 years for this day. Mrs. Carter helped to her feet, clutched her chest, her lips trembling. "Anna, you divorce him. Right now. Having this psycho in our family is a stain on our name." I didn't waste any more words. I threw the divorce papers, I had prepared onto the table in front of them again. Sign it. I can't wait. Mr. Carter immediately pressured Anna to agree, but for once, she defied him. She snatched the papers and tore them to shreds. Noah, I understand you're upset today, but Caleb is innocent. What if you seriously injured him? Apologize to my parents and to Caleb, and we can still be a family. I looked at her, finding her act utterly laughable. The reporters have the story now. This divorce is happening. If you won't sign, we'll go through the courts. With that, I turned and walked out of the room, feeling a sense of freedom I had never known. Anna chased after me, ignoring her family's protests, and blocked my way. Noah, that's enough. Come back with me right now. I gave her a sarcastic smile. Anna, I never realized what a great actress you are. You were just publicly kissing Caleb, and now you're trying to play the devoted wife with me. She denied it, but stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Anna, I said coldly, you're acting really cheap right now. The word cheap stopped her cold. She had always been incredibly proud. I didn't bother arguing further and left the hotel without another word to anyone. I went to the hospital alone and had the surgery. The doctor's skill was beyond my expectations. When I saw my fingers, restored and functional, tears fell without me realizing it. I had finally taken the first step. From now on, I was going to live for myself. After a period of recovery, I started looking for a job. During my convalescence, to avoid the Carters' pitying looks, I had kept busy. I never gave up on my craft, secretly creating numerous design sketches. While my grades in school were never as stellar as Anna's, I was good enough to make a living in this industry. I quickly found a position at a small design firm. When I showed the hiring manager my portfolio, he hired me on the spot. It was only then that I realized I actually had a talent for design. That accident had sent me into a long depression. The constant mocking from those around me had trapped me in a cycle of self-doubt, making me believe I was destined for failure. At the time, Anna, not wanting me to suffer or be judged by others, had respected my decision to step back, and I had grown accustomed to hiding in her shadow. I never imagined the greatest pain would come from her and the people she surrounded herself with. Now, with my hand healed, I was slowly adjusting to a new life. After that disastrous family dinner, the Carter Corporation was trending on Twitter again. The so-called wedding of the century had become a joke. Anna continued to call me every day, relentlessly. I ignored every call. Then, she showed up at my apartment. When she saw me, she froze for a moment. Then her eyes filled with a mixture of surprise and hurt. Noah, where have you been? Why haven't you been answering my calls? She reached for my arm, but I stepped back, avoiding her touch. Where I go is none of your business, I said with a cold laugh. You should use this time to sign the divorce papers. Being so busy with work lately had consumed my life, and standing here with her now felt like looking back at a different lifetime. Your hand, Anna said, suddenly noticing my fingers. I had surgery, I replied flatly. It's a prosthesis, but at least it makes life easier. I subconsciously touched the scar on the back of my hand. It still ached faintly. As if remembering something, Anna asked, So, does this mean you can start designing again? I didn't answer directly, just gave a slight nod. My coldness made her uncomfortable, and an awkward silence fell between us. After a long moment, she broke it. My mom was hospitalized a few days ago. I've been taking care of her. She keeps talking about wanting grandchildren. Noah, can we get back together? In all the years I'd known her, this was the first time she had ever backed down. I just didn't know how much of it was genuine. But at this point, I didn't want to know and I didn't care. Anna, I said seriously, we're not just having a fight. I am divorcing you. I've started a new life. My answer clearly wasn't what she wanted to hear. My company has a top-tier design team, she argued. Since you want to start over with your talent, you could come back and help me. We don't have to separate. We don't have to get divorced. We could be like we were before, going to work together, coming home together. I cut her off. We can't go back. I said, Anna, I'm happy with my job now, and I have no desire to go back to that so-called home. Why? She asked, looking dazed and confused. Is it still because of that picture? You made your scene. I even convinced my parents and Caleb not to blame you. What more do you want from me? Even now, She thought I was just throwing a tantrum, that a few sweet words would fix everything. When I didn't respond, she must have thought she was getting through to me, because she started rambling. Is one picture more important than our 3 years together? There was nothing going on between me and Caleb. That wedding was fake. Enough. I snapped. Anna, do you really think I'm an idiot? The pre-printed wedding posters, the photos of you two kissing, even your parents' open admiration for him. Ever since Caleb showed up, you used mentoring him as an excuse to get closer, constantly testing my boundaries, until you became infatuated with him. You enjoyed it, didn't you? Having someone who was on your level. Every one of these things was a nightmare that had been suffocating me. I let it all out, all my resentment and anger. Every time you looked at me, the disgust and contempt in your eyes was agony. You swore you would never let me down, but what happened? You and your family call me a cripple. You gave the wedding you promised me to another man without a second thought. And then you have the nerve to call me petty and say I'm overreacting. Anna seemed shocked that I would call her out so directly, that I had so much resentment bottled up inside. She stood frozen, looking guilty. Finally, her voice trembling, she tried to explain. Noah, I never despised you. I really just admire Caleb's talent. He reminds me so much of you. Seeing him makes me think of how we used to be. As for the wedding, it was only because I didn't want the Carter family to be humiliated in front of all those reporters. I had no choice. I looked at her desperate attempts to find excuses, and thought about how, ever since Caleb appeared, I had become a burden to her. My existence was a constant reminder of the debt she owed me, that she couldn't just abandon me. But her heart was drawn to someone else, so she used my unreasonable behavior as an excuse to let Caleb mock me, knowing I couldn't leave her, that I had nothing and needed her for protection. It was only in this moment that Anna finally realized that my talk of divorce wasn't a joke. She suddenly broke down, burying her face in her hands and sobbing. I just watched her, my face blank. From a distance, Caleb saw something was wrong and came running over. Anna, are you okay? He reached out to wipe her tears, but she shoved him away. Don't touch me. Stay away from me. This is between my husband and me. It has nothing to do with you. Caleb's face went pale. He awkwardly pulled his hand back. Then, as if a thought struck her, Anna looked up at me, her eyes red and wild. Is it because you're in love with someone else? Is that why you're so determined to divorce me, without giving me a single chance? Slap. It was the first time I had ever hit her. For her baseless accusation, for her refusal to see the truth. Anna, don't project your own filthy thoughts onto other people. I'm divorcing you because of you, and you alone. Ignoring her desperate pleas behind me, I shut the door. But I had underestimated how persistent Anna could be. After that night, she didn't give up. She found out where I worked. Every day, like clockwork, she had flowers and lunch delivered to my desk. She waited for me after work every single day, whether I acknowledged her or not. My colleagues teased me about my luck with women, but I just found it incredibly annoying. One evening, as I was unlocking my apartment door, Anna appeared out of nowhere and slipped inside. She had been waiting for me. She had bought a ton of groceries and said she wanted to cook me a meal. I was about to refuse, but she promised she would sign the divorce papers after we ate. I reluctantly agreed. Anna, who had never cooked a day in her life, was clumsy in the kitchen. Following a recipe, she managed to produce a 3-course meal that looked decent enough. After setting the table, she looked at me with pleading eyes. Her hands, which I once cherished, were covered in burns, but I just glanced at them coldly and said nothing. She got the hint and stopped trying to win my sympathy. The meal was quick and silent. I didn't say a word, though she seemed on the verge of speaking several times. The moment we finished, I told her to leave. But then, she started making a scene. She threw her arms around me, crying, Noah, I'm so sorry. I know I took you for granted, but I'm pregnant with your child. You can't leave me. My heart stopped. I turned and stared at her in shock, finally understanding the real purpose of this dinner. Wiping her tears, she pulled out a doctor's report. I just found out. I'm carrying your child. Let's raise it together, okay? I looked at her for a long time, then shook my head with a bitter smile. The child isn't mine, Anna. You should get an abortion. I'm infertile. I've known for a while. Besides, we haven't slept together in a very long time. What? Anna's eyes widened in disbelief. Noah, are you even a man? She screamed. That's our child. She lunged at me, clawing at me like a mad woman. It's a living being. How can you be so cruel? My face was a mask of indifference. I was trying to give her one last shred of dignity. Anna, we're getting a divorce. A child is not a tool to trap someone in a relationship. But she wouldn't let go. Noah, I don't want to leave you. I would never use our child as a tool. I'll be a good mother. Please, let's not get a divorce. I tried to get away from her, but I slipped, my body unstable. The back of my head hit the wall hard. The world started spinning, my vision blurring. I dug my nails into my thigh to stay conscious. Noah, what's wrong? Anna panicked and tried to help me up, but she moved too quickly and knocked over a bowl of soup on the table. Amid her screams, I stumbled backward. A wave of dizziness washed over me, and I couldn't stay on my feet. I grabbed for something to steady myself, but I only managed to pull the tablecloth, dishes and all, down with me. I slipped on the mess and fell hard. My injured hand landed right on a shard of broken ceramic. The sharp pain shocked me back to full awareness. Seeing the blood on the floor, Anna grew even more frantic, not daring to come near me, just crying hysterically. I managed to pull myself together enough to call 911 and the police. At the hospital, the doctor examined and cleaned the wound. It wasn't long, but it was deep. As he carefully dressed it, he warned me, "You have to be extremely careful with this hand. The nerves were already severely damaged before. You were lucky this time it didn't hit anything vital, otherwise, nothing could have saved it." Anna, who was giving her statement to the police, suddenly lost her composure. She ran over to the doctor, grabbing his arm and begging him to fix my hand, crying that she would pay any amount of money. Her sudden breakdown confused everyone. A nurse had to calm her down. Seeing her in such a state of panic, I felt a strange pang of sadness. When I took that knife for her, she had been just as frantic in the hospital. But in just 3 short years, I was back in the hospital because of an injury, and this time, she was the one who caused it. We were no longer the loving couple we once were. Anna noticed me looking at her and seemed at a loss for words. I turned my head away. "Anna," I said, my voice calm and empty. "I'm not the same person I was. I don't regret taking that knife for you then, and I don't regret it now. But we can't go back." She seemed to realize how absurd her actions were. "I'm sorry, Noah," she cried. "I just love you so much. I never wanted to hurt you again. I won't pressure you anymore. For the sake of our 3 years together, please don't leave me." She knelt before me, weeping and begging. But to me, our love had already spoiled, especially knowing she was carrying another man's child. She was just indulging in self-pity under the guise of loving me. I felt no love from her, only a desperate refusal to lose. Meeting her hopeful gaze, I shook my head firmly. "I'm sorry. I don't love you anymore. Please, don't ever bother me again." In the end, the Carter family bailed her out. I signed a statement agreeing not to press charges. The condition was that she had to agree to the divorce. I wouldn't pursue the matter of the assault. Anna wanted to resist, but her father sternly told her, "Stop embarrassing this family." Finally, she signed the papers, her face a mask of resentment. The moment I had the signed agreement in my hand, I walked away without a second glance. My colleagues heard I was injured and came to visit me in the hospital. Looking at my bandaged hand, none of them showed any disgust, only sympathy and concern. I thanked them sincerely and promised that my work would not fall behind. After I recovered, I threw myself back into my work. With Mr. Carter's intervention, the divorce was finalized quickly. I finally had the decree in my hands. My career began to flourish, and our firm landed several major contracts. Everything was moving in the right direction. The next time I heard about Caleb, he had been kicked out of Carter Corporation. Anna had fired him and pulled all his resources. His supposed talent vanished overnight. Later, he was sued for corporate espionage, a scandal that nearly caused Anna's brand to repeat its past collapse. Fortunately, the Carter Corporation was wealthy enough to weather the storm, though they lost a significant number of clients. I heard that after this, Anna became a recluse, locking herself in her room, endlessly muttering, "I'm sorry," to her design sketches, refusing to listen to anyone. Her father even came to see me, demanding to know how I could be so heartless as to watch her suffer after I had once been willing to take a knife for her. He threw a check for $5 million on the table, calling it compensation from the Carter family. Looking at that check for the first time, I felt how worthless my sacrifice had been. With the 3 years of my lost dignity, something they thought they could buy off, I told them to leave and made it clear that Anna's life was no longer my concern. On the day my team was scheduled to fly abroad for a project, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Anna's mother. She said Anna was sick and, as if to prove it, started a video call. On the screen, Anna was clutching a design sketch, her face pale as a sheet. In just a month, she looked like a different person. But when she saw me, a smile spread across her face. "No, look, I designed a stroller for our future baby. Were you coming to marry me?" Then, as if remembering something, her smile crumbled, and she began to sob uncontrollably. "Noah, come back. I really can't live without you. Please, don't divorce me." A nurse rushed in and gave her a sedative. Her mother was crying, begging me to go see her. I was silent for a long time before I finally, gently, refused. I wish her a speedy recovery. Before hanging up, I decided to tell her the truth. That child wasn't mine. I'm infertile. Please, don't contact me again. As the plane climbed into the sky, I looked out at the blue expanse and the white clouds. I knew, with absolute certainty, that my new life had begun.